If I were a bird, I think I could understand how it feels to love a girl. I swear I'd be a better man. I listen to her.
She's sitting that note, that top note, in exactly the same spot every time. It has this beautiful clarity to it.
Sound check.
Well, g'day and welcome back to another vocal analysis here at Voice Essentials. My name is Dr. Dan, and we are jumping into another Angelina Jordan review today, analysing a really fascinating voice, a voice I enjoy aesthetically listening to. The function of it, you know, puts me a little bit on edge. We'll talk more about that today as we go along, but gee, I like her sound. I think this is the third analysis video we've done of Angelina. I keep doing them because you keep requesting them. And so if you've got other Angelina Jordan videos, recordings that you would like reviewed and analysed, let me know. Leave it in the comments below. Of course, we are a Learn to Sing channel here, so the lens with which we look at these performances is one of learning to sing. What can we take away from the performances that we are reviewing, the singers that we are watching, and what can we learn from not only what they do exceptionally well, and the vast majority of people that we analyse are brilliant, Angelina included, but that doesn't mean they're perfect. It certainly doesn't mean they're robots. They are human, and there are things that they themselves will be working on, and there are things that we can learn as we observe them doing what they do. If you haven't yet subscribed to this channel, and if you think that will be of benefit to you, we'd love you to subscribe and join us as we do this analysis at least once a week. Sometimes we throw in a second one. Let's get into today's review. Today we're looking at If I Were a Boy. This is the Toby Gad piece. For those of you who are not aware of who Toby Gad is, he is the genius behind some really major power ballad pieces. So If I Were a Boy, most of you would know it as the Beyoncé piece, but he's written the songs like All of Me from John Legend. I'm reading down here from my notes. Big Girls Don't Cry, the Fergie piece, and Skyscraper, the Demi Lovato song. Big songs. And this version of If I Were a Boy is a slight retake on it. It really has been molded to suit Angelina's presentation, and it is Toby on the keys in this WishBus performance. So without further ado, let's jump in and appreciate this fantastic little duo. It's good. Here we go.
Wish 1075.
If I were a boy, even just for a day, I'd roll out of bed in the morning and throw on what I wanted, then go drink beer with the guys and chase after girls. I kick it with who I wanted, and I never get confronted for it, 'cause they stick up for me. If I were a bird, I think I could understand how it feels to love a girl. I swear I'd be a better man.
Pause there. Fantastic. It sounds amazing. It sounds amazing. What we're hearing, and what I think gives it the aesthetic appeal, is quite a tremendous amount of, in the lower portion of what we just listened to, a lot of vocal fry. We might look at that in the spectrogram in a moment. And it's that scraping of the bottom lower notes that gives it that beautiful texture. And that texture is what drives the emotiveness of this performance. Angelina, if my research serves me correctly, at the age of this at the time of this performance, she's around 18 years of age. Young. I mean, she won, I think, Norway's Got Talent at the age of 8 back in 2014. So she's been into this singing thing for quite some time. And this styling of her voice has really become quite cemented. It's become, certainly from the performances I've seen her do thus far, it's become very much a part of her signature sound. Therein lies the danger. I'm not saying she is currently, as in this performance, exhibiting any of the challenges that might present itself further down the track, but because the audience is understandably desperate to hear this kind of styling from Angelina, the concern is that as she leans into that and reinforces that signature, that the high cost effort around creating that sound could become a challenge in time. We know, for example, with singers like Morissette, with her doing certain vocal effects, she's recently had to stop doing them altogether because of the cost to her voice physically. These people aren't robots. They're biological instruments just like you and I, and these effects can take a toll over time. That aside, it's a beautiful use of the effect. And it just gives us that, longing that it drags us in. Let's take it back to the beginning. I want you to have a listen to how the effect, the vocal fry, changes to more of a false fold activity as she goes up. Vocal fry is something we'll often hear in that onset of sound down low. But then as we go high, we might see some evidence of this in the spectrogram a bit later. We tend to have to switch to more of a false fold, ventricular fold activity to form that disruption and disturbance into the vocal line. Have a listen as we go along again.
Wish 1075.
If I were a boy, even just for a day, I'd roll out of bed in the morning and throw on what I wanted, then go.
So let's have a look at that in the spectrogram right at the beginning there, and have a look at how the clarity of line is really hard to determine.
If I were a boy.
Notice this area here. So here's your fundamental. The B flat 3, this line here. But have a look at this area down here. Often that's what we're going to see in a spectrogram with vocal fry. We're going to get this sort of subharmonic sitting way down below the fundamental pitch.
Even just for a day, I'd roll out of bed in the morning and throw on what I wanted, then go.
Yeah, we're seeing this continuance of that vocal fry.
With the guys.
Now have a look at how that as she lets it slip down into the guys, the pitch drops down, and we get this sort of again highly emotive.
And chase after girls. I kick it with who I wanted, and I never get confronted for it, 'cause they stick up for me. If I were a boy.
And notice how when we get right up nice and high, we get that we start to get a really much cleaner harmonic. Let's continue with the video.
Drink beer with the guys and chase after girls. I kick it with who I wanted, and I never get confronted for it, 'cause they stick up for me. If I were a boy, I think I could understand how it feels to love a girl. I swear I'd be a better man. I listen to her.
She's sitting that note, that top note, in exactly the same spot every time. It has this beautiful clarity to it. It's bang on pitch. I wonder what that might mean as far as when we think about it being bang on pitch. I wonder if what that looks like pitch accuracy wise.
I listen to her.
So that, I don't know whether this has been tuned. Certainly if we look back at other aspects of the performance.
It feels to love a girl. I swear I'd be a better man.
That section there, I think you could argue either way. Has it been tuned? Like if we just put a really, as we often say, a really gross tuning over it, and we
It's to love a girl. I swear I'd be a better man.
It's not really there's not really a lot of extra tuning that gets done there. Is that suggestive of her having excellent pitch? And I dare say she naturally has excellent pitch. She's unlikely to have achieved what she's achieved so far without having excellent natural human pitch. But equally, this note here, that's pretty, like that's very flat. It could, an argument could be mounted that note has been tuned. I think you could equally argue an argument that it hasn't been, that she's just nailed it. I wonder if we come out and have a look at some other top notes like that, I wonder what would happen. And so there's another one. I wasn't in the room. I don't know if there has been tuning applied or not. We know that WishBus typically is known for doing post-production tuning. And certainly we've seen very strong evidence of that in the past. But in this case, I think we leave the jury out. Leave your comments below. Tell me what you think has gone on with the tuning here, as to whether it could equally be that this is a wonderfully transparent post-production tuning, in so much as a good chunk of it has not been terribly fiddled with in post, but these top notes have been, enhanced to make sure that they're bang on every single time, because they are the highlight. And so that could be a part of it. Of course, here at Voice Essentials, when we talk about tuning, we don't get hung up on it being a good, bad, or ugly thing. I think it can be ugly, especially when it's like hard tuned and it sounds robotic. But I think for when we're presenting production level presentations, I personally don't think there's anything wrong with the use of auto-tune. Well, Melodyne, auto-tune's probably a little bit less transparent. But certainly, I use these tools on my own voice, have done it for public recordings, not performances, live performances. I've never sung with live auto-tune. But certainly we're not here on this channel saying that it's a wrong thing to use, outside of the fact that it is good for us as learn to sing singers to be able to contextualize what we're listening to. And that in turn helps us create really well-measured expectations of what we can achieve in our own voice. Let's continue with the performance.
'Cause I know I'm there. No. When you lose the one you wanted, 'cause it's taking you for granted, and everything you had got destroyed.
Oh, I love the way she's feathered that. If you take it back and listen to the entrance into that, very clean, clear vocal, because she's stepped into that sort of belt mode. So have a listen to this.
I listen to her.
So we've got that really strong. Remember, with belt, we're going to get this really strong second harmonic. Look at how strong that is. And look at the resonance that goes all the way up into, well above 10,000 hertz. I mean, that's a really strong note. And we get this really, she really, and you can see the little moment in the voice where it changes that registration, from a belt note to this really light moment in time.
'Cause I know I'm with her.
We're still belt here.
When you lose the one you wanted,
And here we go. Notice how the fundamental, this bottom area, the actual notes that we hear are starting to dominate, and we're getting this really light feathering, and we lose the distinction in the harmonics above, and so we get this lovely feathering of the sound. It's gorgeous. artistic singing. She is choosing to communicate and emote with her voice in such an effective way.
To her, 'cause I know I'm with her. No, no. When you lose the one you wanted, 'cause he's taking you for granted, and everything you had got destroyed.
Believe it or not, I talked at the very beginning of the video about sustainability and the health of a voice around the use of some of these effects. One of the biggest challenges to the longevity of her use of these effects is actually this breathy sound, where she goes from having that really clean adduction, where the vocal folds, we're getting that really clean belt tone, to this really breathy, where the vocal folds are left not fully adducting, but also creating just a little bit of a sound to it. And so we're going to get a little bit of a rubbing of the vocal folds. It's this action between the two that could, I'm not saying will, could lead to challenges, the development of pathological challenges in the voice at a later date. We're not observing those here right now, and in fact, in looking at the spectrogram, we don't see any defined inconsistencies in the fundamental where we're getting disruption, which is what would typically present itself in pathology, but nonetheless something to be mindful of in your own singing.
If I were a boy, I would turn off my phone, tell everyone it's broken, so they think that I was sleeping alone.
Lovely lower register, just beautiful.
I put myself first.
She's so in, and that's what's driving her ability to emote. She's communicating. I talk so often here on the channel about, singing is not about perfect notes. Yes, we've looked at the possibility of tuning. We've looked at the spectrogram and how well she's using registration. But at the end of the day, that's all got to serve and service the communication. And she gets top marks for that aspect of it. And if that was all we were concerned about, in our review, we would be oohing and ahhing from beginning to end, because it's an excellent performance from a performance point of view. If that was the only lens we were looking at it from, it's exceptional.
And make the rules as I go, 'cause I know that he'd be
That
faithful,
lovely movement
waiting
up.
for me to come home, If I were a bird, I think I could understand.
Let's have a listen to that little squeak, because it's the second or third one I've heard. It's around about 2:37. I just want to have a look at what are we seeing and hearing when we hear that little squeak.
Waiting for me to come home, If I were a bird, I think I could understand.
Just that little there. We get this little squeak through here. I wonder whether we're hearing a third form of disturbance there, more of a ariepiglottic sort of twangy pinch, and we get that little squeak. It's not dissimilar to the Maury squeak, the Morissette squeak that we've talked about, which she no longer uses. Under the advice, I think the correct advice, of a laryngologist, she is no longer using that effect, in part because she started to, I think, and I've made this comment in many of the videos when we reviewed her, started to overuse it. Why? Because we all loved it. We wanted more of it. So she started to do more of it, the pressure of giving the audience what they want. And in doing so, it started to really place a cost on her voice. Where is it again? Here we go. Understand. It sounds awesome. It sounded awesome. And I must say, in this performance, I don't feel like it's been overused or overemphasized. And one hopes that she can continue to hold on to it as that little highlight effect that she's putting in there. I think I could understand how it feels to love a girl. I swear I'll be a better man. Oh, I love her phrasing there. You know, it's so tempting, isn't it, at times to just have that through line. Da, 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 but she breaks it up. She gives us this which just creates variance and again reinforces the emotion. So cool. Have a listen to that again. I could understand how it feels to love a girl. I swear I'll be a better man. So cool. It's a little too late for you to come back. Say it's just a mistake. Think I forgive you like that. If you thought I would wait for you, you thought no. If I were a boy. Let's take a moment to recognise Toby Gad's playing. You know, he's the writer of the piece, so he knows what he's communicating as well, but the manner in which he is supporting the singer and creating a instrumental landscape on which the singer can stand and emote. Brilliant. Even just for a day. Oh yeah, I would feel so love a girl someday. You wish you were a better man. Yeah. Lovely melisma, riff and run, awesome. You don't care, I'm in love. No. When you lose the one you want, 'cause he's taking you for granted, and everything you ever got destroyed.
Wish exclusive.
If I were a boy.
On Wish 107.5.
Fantastic. I did, there was a couple of moments there where I went to stop and I didn't. You know, the moments where she's sort of, and it's when she's belting that her head's tilting quite back. I would want to see her be able to achieve the necessary structure physically for those high belt notes without so much movement. That being said, she is seated for this performance, which gives her less access to lower support structure for those high belt notes. But ultimately, we do like to look for, a little less, again, because it's creating a lot of tension extrinsically and in turn intrinsically for those bigger notes. Great performance. Thank you for those of you who recommended we give it a review. Again, my jury is out when it comes to thinking about the tuning. it may have been, it may well not have been. Sometimes it's as a person who wasn't in the room when the post-production was done, sometimes it's actually not possible to be categoric. Often it is very possible to be categoric and go, that is tuned. In this instance, could go either way. I look forward to seeing you in the next vocal analysis video. I'm Dr. Dan. Sing well. Bye.